Welcome back to the podcast, Sacred Walker here. This podcast is meant to support you towards your journey of well-being. Here we unlock unstoppable love in you as ambitious leaders through strategies that are deepening self-love, reclaiming authentic freedom, achieving mental clarity and better health, and manifesting your vision of excellence without the naysayers in the world or the inner critic in your own damn mind blocking your shine. I am lovingly called your self-love queen. So happy to be here today. This show is for educational purposes. If you are seeking deeper support, do reach out to our main office for support from a health care professional. You can direct message us at Ask Sacred, ASKSACRED, for being matched with a culturally affirming, holistic, and oftentimes mind, body, spirit grounded mental health therapist, executive coach, or personal transformational leader for specifically catered. Now, today's show is going to be delicious. It's about looking at how we can declutter our homes, declutter our minds, and what to do if you have a friend who is struggling in this department and what happens from there. It is with our very special guest, Dr. Paris Love. And what more of a better person to have on the Unlocking Unstoppable Love podcast as someone who is specifically Dr. Love. She's an accountability and coach who's lovingly the drill sergeant activity, and you can learn more about her in the show notes. She loves organizing, and she is oftentimes someone who makes an impact in people's life without making sure that they lose a sense of clarity of direction or without stopping their self-care. She's a life coach, a professor, and a professional organizer for well over 10 years. And we're so excited that after being a sought-after speaker and a tremendous talent for bringing order to chaos, she is here to help us to run our lives, our careers, and our businesses in more productive ways. I'm so excited for the topic that we have at hand today. So we are about to jump in and take you from what might look like as we step into fall and it gets darker and we start to experience seasonal mood changes, which is a part of what happens in the fall. Sometimes we go into seasons where we may have grandkids, children, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles that we're taking care of, or parents we're taking care of while also being attentive to the little ones in our lives. We might be in our sandwich years, if you will. And so we step into the fall having to adult. And what happens oftentimes is that sometimes our home can be impacted. Sometimes our mind can be impacted. The days become shorter because there's less light. Our mood begins to change and shift. We're being present to the people in our lives in a whole new way as we step into the fall. And we just want to make sure that if we see someone we care about having a cluttered home or a cluttered mind, we know what to do and who to take them to get that kind of support from. So without further ado, look at the show notes, subscribe below, make sure that you are able to tune in so that we can take you to this next level. Now, in this show today, we will be touching in and understanding our past, because as we understand our past, we build generational well-being and we can level up in our future. And the more we can tune in with self-love and self-care, the more that we can attract a life that we deeply desire, and we can really transform those painful moments that we're navigating change and clearing our way so that we can make that our superpower. So as someone committed to empowering 1 million ambitious individuals, executive queens, and high-achieving, oftentimes spirit-led creatives to break through barriers that have been holding their well-being back to achieve their next level of peak performance, I want to make sure that you know how to declutter your home and your mind so that you can shine, right? Because that is what self-love is about. And it's super important and connected to the topic today of decluttering our home and what to do. And we see a friend, family member who's struggling with this, or they might be saying negative things about themselves, or they might be really wanting to be more confident, wanting to be clearer, wanting to shine in their world. So I know when I changed my relationship to my inner thoughts and began practicing the power and art of meditation over 10 years ago, I know that when I began to do the work, being matched with a therapist and a coach, to work through my emotions so that I could be a confident leader. And I know when I began to speak on worldwide stages and taking leaps of faith and using my voice in powerful ways. When I came home, a clean and comfortable and organized environment where I felt like I was being my most productive self was essential. It changed my life. It helped me transform my relationships, not just romantic, but my friendships, the teams that I build now, and the teams that I transform to create healthier functioning teams, as well as helping all of us to be able to shine. So I'm so excited for this, and I'm so excited for the ways that Dr. Paris Love and I will help you walk in on this journey together. So if you are not sure if you are taking good care of yourself and you want to have a self-care assessment, or you just want to tune up and you're curious and increasing self-awareness is your jam, hop over to selflove.sacredwalker.net/quiz, and you can take the self-care assessment. Trust me, you'll thank me later. You landed here for a reason. You have tuned in and tuned up. We're about to crack you open to help create and transform barriers to well-being. And we have Dr. Paris Love. So welcome back to the Unlocking Unstoppable Love show, a professional, someone who I care deeply about, who I admire quite a bit, and whose presence at One Paris Love on Facebook is someone that you need to make sure that you are connecting to as our productivity drill sergeant. So you're about to be blown away for what she's about to bring to the table. We literally had a moment in time where we had to do a reset, a recalibrate, and we are back in full effect with the one, the only Dr. Paris Love. I'm so excited to have you on our show today. Welcome to Unlocking Unstoppable Love.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. And for those who are tuning in, just a point of thing that I mentioned to her earlier on that I'm going to make sure that I repeat. For those who are tuning in and not able to see, I want you to know that she's wearing a popping green that I wanted to call in the color of abundance, the heart chakra. So I'm just loving that you are tuning in to love as we get started today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I just realized that we met each other. We were connected through Nikita. How did we? Oh, through the Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs.
Both Goldman Sachs, 10,000 entrepreneurs. So absolutely. So as you are tuning into the next level best, I'm so excited that we're part of the same community. Okay. So for those who are tuning in, know that this is for educational purposes. We're going to tune you up, crack you open, and make sure that you can shine to that next level. And you want to connect with Dr. Love on Facebook at One Paris Love, and other ways you can connect and tune in below, and you can reach out if you need help from a therapist at Ask Sacred. Okay, so tell us, Dr. Love, when is the first time that you fell in love with helping others declutter their lives so that they can be productive and unstoppable?
Ooh, so that was about over 30 years ago. I know it's a long time. And so I'm going to date myself a little bit. I was that child who would organize their room, organize the spices. I would stay up and organize my book, height order, all the things. And so when I went to college, in the 80s, we had room inspections. So I don't know if they still do that now. And my roommates wouldn't make their bed, like they were a little messy. So I would do it. I would make our bed, make sure everything was nice, neat, and organized. And that was just what I did. And I enjoyed doing it. Even when my roommates would complain because I would tuck in like their blankets and they were like sitting there like a little mummy. They loved it. And so I continued to do that throughout the years. I just enjoyed doing it. My spiritual gift is giver. So I was always giving. And I was in a zone. And then I discovered like other people do this and they get paid to do this. So 19 years ago, I started my business and I absolutely love it. I do this in my spare time. I'm always organizing.
It makes such a difference. And you know, what I love about what I'm hearing you say is that you tune into your gifts. And I can relate to what you said. I remember when I was at Columbia University, I would have a little studio. And I remember the very first time that I actually invested my little coins, right, into someone who could come in and transform my space, and how different it meant when I was there getting my master's degree to be able to land back into my home and feel like, oh my gosh, this is a safe place, when the world just felt like it was busy and we were just on. As we're going into the fall and we're having to adult and we're having to tune in a different way, what are some things that you feel are red flags that if we see a friend of ours doing these things, maybe seeing them in their homes or seeing them say these things, that is a red flag of, oh, you need to definitely send them to Dr. Love.
And sometimes we don't know what we don't know. We're so used to saying things that we don't really catch it. So you really need to have a extremely good friend. So when you say, oh my God, I can't manage my time, I'm really stressed out, I have a lot going on. Like we say that, but we just assume that everybody has this going on. So as a friend, you should go, well, what's really going on? You say that you're stressed, you're overwhelmed, and we all have that one friend that is always late, always. And what do? We accommodate them. Oh, so-and-so is going to be late, girl. They always late. You know what? Stop that. Because my friends know if you late, I'm leaving you. I leave you. I left my mother one time. So I'm like, if I leave my mother, I will leave. I did. I left my mother. I told her, you got to be down here. She wasn't here. I left.
Oh, cut it out, my elders. Stop it.
She wasn't an elder.
At the time, you were like, okay, mama.
Oh, and my mother knows to this day, she's like, I'm here, I'm on time. Right. So, and a lot of times we allow people, we have a choice. We choose to do X, Y, and Z. So we have a choice if we want to be quote unquote busy or productive. A lot of times people say, oh, I'm just so busy. And people will say, girl, I saw you on Facebook, you so busy. I said, excuse me, I'm never busy, I'm productive. So those are like trigger words to me when people say, oh, I am so busy. What are you busy doing? Ants are busy. What are you really busy doing? Are you productive? There's a difference. So we have to look for some of the language that we have associated with this normal lifestyle and really do a deep dive and ask those clarifying questions. Like, why do you think you can't manage your time? Like, do you need help with that? I was trying to get out the house. I wanted to wear something. I couldn't find it. Is your closet disorganized? I don't have anything. I'm doing pick something up to eat. I don't even know what's in the refrigerator. When was the last time you cleaned out your refrigerator? And a lot of times we are just a mirror image of the other person. And you go, you know what? I haven't cleaned out my refrigerator either. I need to do that. We should meal prep together. Or maybe we should have shared meals. On Sunday, I cook a meal. Maybe on Saturday, you cook a meal. So we really have to watch for these trigger words because people are telling us all the time that they need help. But we associate with that, oh, everybody's like that. Just because everybody's doing it doesn't make it right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just because everybody's doing it doesn't make it right. Like we get to land in. So some of the gems that I heard you share was looking at doing that deep dive. And if you don't feel like, okay, I don't know what questions to ask, this is when you can refer them over to Dr. Paris Love and say, you know what, I'm noticing this. There's somebody that I think might be able to support you with this, right? How can we do that deeper look? And what I also heard you say, which I think is so important on that success pathway, is like, if you're at a place where you want to be more on time, or you want to make better use of your time, or you want to feel like you're showing up in the world clearer because you are showing up and you're like, I know the impact that I'm going to make today. I leave the day feeling like I know what I got out of it. If you're on that place, maybe you don't know where you are right now, but you know that's where you want to head to. Okay, you know that something is off. So if you're a frequenter of the show, you know that we are tuning in to helping you to be unstoppable. And we're going to talk about big stuff. But I want to talk about what are some of the things that people can do if they're struggling with this, if they're really feeling like, you know what, maybe I see a friend who's late sometimes, or maybe I see a friend who literally doesn't have a place to sit in their home. Like I remember when I was in Miami, I worked with someone who, it was a disaster relief project in my early days in AmeriCorps, where we walked in and there was so much water damage, but every space in the home had shirts and bags and clothes and things. And just clearing it out, why it took so long was not because it was water damage, but it was hard for the person to let go of those things, even though it was all destroyed. So what are the ways that we can have as we go into the fall and want to clear out? What are some tips that I see this, but I don't know what to do about it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of times when we say you go over to a friend's house and you're noticing that I'm just going to say this word, sometimes it's a little messy. And your friends will say, excuse the mess, I'm so sorry. Mm-hmm. You're like, I get it. I understand. Sometimes my house gets messy too. Would you like assistance in cleaning this up, getting organized? And a lot of times people mistake a cleaner and an organizer. So there are two different industry, two different jobs that they do. And sometimes people, maybe they don't need the organizational piece. Maybe things are where they need to be. They need someone to come in and to clean it. And so there's another thing you're like, yeah, just need someone to come in and do the, the windows. I know people probably like the windows. Yes, clean your windows. I need someone to come in and does. And then at some point they go, well, you know what? I think I have too much stuff. And a lot of times, like you said, we have that emotional attachment to it. So we don't want to let it go. So you do need to bring a professional in so they can ask you those clarifying questions. When was the last time you wore this? Do you really and truly love it? Yes. And Marie Kondo says, if you don't love it, let it go. Of course you love it because you bought it. But at some point, it has a lifespan. You're like, I bought that pre-pandemic. I've either gained or lost some weight. I don't really like it as much. And your friends should be like, girl, yes, just go ahead and let that go. You see people out in the street, you're like, they should have some friends that told them, don't wear that out. So you need to be that friend to go, nope, release it to the universe. Let somebody else help you. And a lot of times my clients said, I tried to help my friend. And I had a friend of mine call me at like 7 o'clock at night in a panic. She said, I'm trying to help my friend. I can't. Can you help her? And she sent me a picture, and her friend's just, sitting in her bedroom just with her head down, like no one would help her. So those are other warning signs. My family won't help me. My spouse won't help me. My kids won't help. I've called my brother. Like they've called family members, and the family, for whatever reason, want help. So you as a friend, you're like, well, I can come over and help, but it gets overwhelming because it's the thing like, here's my cell phone, and you have the cases on your phone. You might have 5 or 6. Well, you only have one phone. Do you really need to have 5 or 6? And a lot of times our cases are from previous phones. So why are we keeping it? And so as a friend, you can donate this. You can give it to Goodwill. You can give it to a shelter. And a lot of times when you ask those clarifying questions, you're so overwhelmed that you do nothing. You haven't even thought a shelter. Oh my God, there's Dress for Success. There's women's shelters. There are men's shelter, children, Goodwill. Put it on Facebook Marketplace. Put it on Let It Go. And when you start asking those questions, oh my goodness, I didn't think about it, because you are so overwhelmed that you just can't see or think past what's in front of you.
Absolutely. And what I love about what you're sharing is, what does it look like when you get to a place where you realize this is something that I don't love and I want to give it to like a buy nothing. I want to be able to give it away. One of my big joys is going with my church to be able to drop stuff off at the local shelter, because there are ways that you forget that thing in your closet is not serving its real purpose. Its real purpose is to be on someone's back, being about bringing them joy. And now it's stuffed in the back of your closet and you're looking at it with all this hate. It's not meant to be in the closet and hated by you. It's meant to fulfill its purpose. So where has been something where, can you give us an example of a time where you took a client from A to B, that you were able to help them to see what was coming up, like on the other side, like a call like that, or you felt like you really invested in that transformational success journey, and it really was something that impacted them and helped them to become unstoppable?
Ooh, look, let me see. I have so many stories like that. So I'm going to share the one that I talked about earlier with the friend called me. So I went in, and it was interesting. So she called me on a Monday night at 7, and that coming weekend, that Saturday, they were closing on the house. They sold their house. It was like, I need to get everything out. I got to pack everything up. And I looked at my schedule. I was like, these are only the days that I can come before Saturday. And I actually went the next day, and I walked in, and I was like, whoa, like nothing has been packed. And it's a huge, I think it was like 3,000 square foot home. So, and nothing, and the family would not help. And so I'm like, okay, let's get to work. And that's why a lot of times people call me the drill sergeant, because I'm like, I'm not judging anybody. I just get in and I work. And I said, okay, let's start with the dining room. And you can see it on their face, like, oh, we're gonna be here all day. Like they're overwhelmed. And so we did the dining room, 45 minutes. And she's just like, oh my goodness, like, wow. And it was things that we had to take to Goodwill or donate. And then there were things that we're going to pack. And so I put labels on everything, and just putting the label on something, they were like, oh, I didn't think about that. Like they were so overwhelmed. They didn't even think to write on the box what it was. And I put this nice little label on there. And she's just like, oh. And I came back, and within a couple of days, we had the entire house packed up. And it was so funny because she kept saying, she was like, I know I'm paying you, but thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. She said, I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Like she was so very appreciative. And this is another thing, that some triggers that we see. So you pack up this house, where is it going? Because on the other end, you have to unpack it. And if you're stressed and overwhelmed on the front end, how are you going to be that way on the back end? So during our sessions, I was like, so where's this going? And on the back end, are you going to unpack it? And how long would it take you to unpack? So this particular client, I'm actually going on Friday to help her unpack everything, because I was like, I'm going to see if, she's going to do it on her own. And we talked about it. She said, I'm going to have you come and help me unpack, but I'm going to try to do some things myself. So it's been about a week and a half. And I'm like, how much have you done? She's like, I haven't done anything. And I was like, that's okay. I'll be there on Friday. We go and unpack it. And a lot of times when we think about having someone come in, especially when you talk about clutter, as an adult, we feel embarrassed that we can't figure it out. Something's wrong with us. So I'm here to tell you, nothing's wrong with you. Sometimes these were behaviors that we learn. If our parents or grandparents didn't have these skills, then, guess what happened? We're not taught this in school. We're not even taught how to manage our money. So please don't beat yourself up. Stop saying that you're a hoarder. You're probably not a hoarder. And always remember that hoarding is a psychological disorder. So give yourself some grace. You can learn these skills. You just have to have someone who can support you and get you past that overwhelm, that block stage, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. I promise you that.
And I love that you are bringing in just what are the ways that we can bring light at the end of the tunnel. And so some of the gems that I heard you say was that you were able to hold them on the other side. You were able to not bring shame into a moment. You're able to acknowledge, like, okay, what are the ways that we can break generational curses? How do we inherit certain things? Some of the clients that we see here at Kumba Health, they'll come to us and they'll say, oh my gosh, I grew up in a household where whenever something was needed, mom would go out and just buy it for me. Or whenever I was hungry, I would eat. And I now don't know when I'm hungry or when I'm not hungry, right? Or even sometimes impulse shopping. It's like, okay, sometimes we can reach for, there was something brilliant that was said on the Get Great with Money movie by Netflix. And she said, categorize your spending based on what do you love and what do you need? Because oftentimes we'll buy what we want and what we like impulsively, but we're not investing in our long-term goals. So just looking at that. And so I think you're really speaking into how are we being most productive, not only with our time, but also with our money. So this is actually something when we invest wisely in ourselves, we transform our wealth mindset too, our well-being and our wealth mindset. So y'all just know right now you are getting some gem drops, okay? You are getting some money savers here, because when you invest in these supports and these resources, you not only save time, you get your life back, you take your power back, but you also take your financial control back, because we don't want to be so stressed out that we lose track of time and money. So, as we come to our time here, I really want to make sure that we understand and get that kind of support, that we can take our ambitious leaders who are tuning in, who are ready to overcome these hurdles to the next level. What would you say would be a tool or a tip, 1 to 3 tips that you would give for someone who is showing up and they're just at the beginning? And I'm going to jump in and say, if you have not already, make sure that you connect to Dr. Paris Love on Facebook, on her website, reach out. You make sure that you connect in our show notes to tuning in. So that is going to be bottom line number 3. But if you can give some additional tips that I'm hearing this and you know what, I'm quite there, but I need some DIY of I don't even know where to start. What would be something that you would close us out with?
So first of all, give yourself grace. You really have to give yourself grace. Number 2, you don't have to do it all at once. Take your time. When you look at the clutter, you look at the big picture, and it's very overwhelming. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So instead of saying, oh, I have to organize my entire home in this one day, you know what? Maybe I could do the dining room. That's one day. The next day, I can do the kitchen. Then the next day, I can do the living room. When you think about organizing your home, start with, when people come into your home, what's the first place that they go? It's either living room, dining room, or kitchen. So start there and set a timer. Like I'm that weird person, like, okay, let me set a timer and see how fast I can do the work. So set a timer. And I promise you, once you start, you're like, okay, like you have that momentum. So you're going to keep going. But if you don't, that's okay. Come back tomorrow, the next day, and do the bathrooms. And then the next day or the next week, do the bedrooms. So do it in chunks, like you would eat an elephant, one bite at a time. You don't have to do it all in one day. That way it's less overwhelming. You find joy in what you have. And this is the very most important tip. It is so very easy to get organized. It is hard to stay organized because consistency is key. And once you get it organized, you have to maintain it. So those old habits of, oh, I'm tired, I'm just going to put this down. Oh, I don't feel like doing this today. No, put it where it belongs. It only takes you a few seconds. Just put it where it belongs. You're constantly working at it. And remember, another tip, 1 in rule. If something comes in, something has to go out. Right. And as you talked about shopping, so if you go to the store, you're like, oh my God, everything's on sale. It's only $1. It's only like $5. You know, it's in our mind, it doesn't cost that much. So if you go shopping and you buy 5 items, I don't care what they are, clothes, dishes, whatever, 5 items. 5 items have to go out. If you're not willing to let go of 5 items, then you shouldn't bring 5 in. And that way you're constantly purging.
Absolutely. And isn't that the law of reciprocity? Recognizing that nothing in the universe is wasted. It goes in, it goes out. So making sure we give ourselves grace, making sure that we make sure that if you are willing to release 5 things, then take in 5 things, right? Just so that you are not getting lost in the swirl, getting lost and overwhelmed, and losing sight of how you're showing up in the world, right? And as well, making sure that you reach out and you're like, you know what, actually, this sounds great, but I need some help, right? That there's never any shame in asking for help. If nothing else, help can become your superpower because we get to transform our painful histories into our superpowers. So I'm so glad that you were here with us, Dr. Paris. You are supporting us on our journey to support 1 million ambitious leaders to become breakthroughs to their barriers of well-being, helping them to deepen self-love, reclaim authentic freedom, achieve mental clarity so that they can manifest their visions of excellence, so that they can transform toxicity across the nation and level up. So you've heard some gem droppers here. We're about to come to our time. If you are someone who has landed here on purpose and you have stayed to the end of the show, I am so proud of you because that means that you are super committed to transforming clutter in your world, in your home, and in your mind so that you can shine. And make sure that you tune in below, subscribe, and connect with the one, the only Dr. Paris Love. So make sure that from here on, you are tuning into self-love, stepping into your inner peace, and using some of these soulful success strategies. Any final words for us before we come to our time, Dr. Love?
You can do this. You got this. It is very easy. I know that when you look at it, you're like, this is really hard. But again, have some grace and seek help. When you invest in yourself, the universe will reward you back. And as women, we never want to invest in ourselves, but at some point, if you don't invest in yourselves, will anybody else? So it's okay to invest in other people through you.
Exactly. Excellent. Reclaim that crown. And then if someone reaches out for being the person who stayed until the end of the episode, tuned in, what is a special offer that you can give for those who are listening and tuning in, our special, amazing guests who are tuning in today?
So I have a book called How to Maximize 24 Hours and Get Things Done Effortlessly. So I will personally sign it and mail it to them. And you can always reach out and get a 30-minute complimentary session with me. So.
Perfect. And then we will have the link for that in the show notes as well. But for those who are listening, you heard it here. If you mentioned that you reached out through the podcast Unlocking Unstoppable Love, or you mentioned Sacred Walker, you will get your own autographed book in hand from the powerhouse herself, the acclaimed author, the productivity expert, the productivity drill sergeant, and the pioneer herself. So do make sure that you reach out. Please repeat that book title for us one more time.
How to Maximize 24 Hours and Get More Done Effortlessly.
Beautiful. How to maximize 24 hours and get more done effortlessly. Thank you for being an amazing guest today and gifting our audience. Yay! And being my special friend.
Yes.
All right, y'all. So love, peace, and soul. Be well, everyone. Continue to be unstoppable. Love you. Ciao.